Rich, can we start with some questions?
Yes, please do. Yes, let's do that. Let's start with some questions. Good. Let's have your questions, Annika.
Now, I don't want people to laugh at me now, you know.
No one laughs. Everyone learns.
No, I'm not.
Yeah,
I'm a Google now. I'm not a youngster anymore.
that's fine.
I just want to know is the crocodile booster.
Yes.
Okay, so we are still going to wait until we've got that $5 to actually take the money out and reinvest. Am I right?
Yes. So you mean from the crocodile earnings?
Yes.
Yes. So let's say someone put in, the crocodile last week and they've got $40. They will earn a little bit each week. So I mean that last week they earned about 34 cents or something like that. So those will add up. And then when they've got $5, they can make the withdrawal. And then obviously if they could make the withdrawal, and if they want to put some money with that, they can then make another portfolio. Otherwise, they need a minimum of $10 to make a new portfolio.
Yes. Okay. So I took that booster because it was for me the first timer.
Okay.
So I'm still going to wait a while until I need to take my money out and reinvest again.
Yes, because you'd need to wait until you've got at least $5, but taking $5 out wouldn't mean you'd be able to reinvest yet. You would need to wait until you've got about $10, unless you had some money lying somewhere else that you wanted to put with it. But otherwise, you would just wait.
I do understand. Can I ask a simple question? And I don't think it's got anything to do with what we're doing tonight. Is there any of you people that can advise me, Valor or a Luna account? May I ask this question?
Yes, of course. Yes.
Is there one of them that you people prefer? Because I'm still battling to open up my Luna, and then somebody told me, you know what, try Valor. Can any of you just maybe give me some advice? Which one is maybe the more friendly account to open? That you don't have to wait so long, and just maybe if you can give me some advice.
Okay. Is anyone here on the group using Valor?
Can they talk? I don't.
Yes.
Cecil? Yes.
Yeah.
Cecil.
No. Okay. I've had no problems with Valor. The only thing that you need to be cognitive of is if you're putting any money in through Valor and you're transferring it to like a SafePal wallet or whatever, you've got to say, Valor will ask you a question, where's the money going? And you just say it's personal and it's going to your wallet.
Okay. Okay, that's also important to know that. No, personal and going to your wallet.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, I don't want to spend too much. I just wanted to know, if people, which way to go, Valor or Luno. But it seems to me Valor is the more popular one.
That's right, yes. I think people are having more success with Valor lately than with Luna.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much.
I have a Valor account, but I stopped using it a long time ago because it's just very difficult to operate with it.
Oh, you mean Luno, Cecil?
Luna, yeah.
Okay.
Luna. Okay. Now, I've got a friend, and she's also having really, really problems with Luna. And that's why, I really want to know which way to go. Thank you so much, guys.
Okay, pleasure. I think the one that I know Peter and Cielo have really had a lot of problems with was altcoin trader. So that's definitely one to be avoided lately. That
Okay.
just seems to people get almost nowhere with it. So Valor does seem to be the way to go. What do you guys use now, Peter? Are you using Valor yet?
We are. My daughter is the operator there. I hardly know or understand anything. But
Okay.
yeah, we are making use of Vela,
Okay.
and then she's the one who's handling things on that one. Yes.
Yes. Oh,
Mm.
it's always nice if you can get one of your children or the younger people to operate those things for you. But
Hey,
it's
he's
very
so helpful.
convenient. Yeah.
He's so convenient. She's doing amazing things even when we enroll new people. She's the one who prepares the screens for all the steps that we need to follow. Then yeah, it becomes so easy for us to get someone on board without explaining. You see that thing of sharing the screens and everything. No,
Yes.
she's able to prepare the short screens for that with a little notes beneath. Then we just send it to the person. Yeah, here are the screens. Here is a video. Sometimes this is the step you need to follow. So it's so convenient and easy to do. Yeah. So to have the young ones around you is very good thing. They
Yeah.
understand these things far better than we do.
Oh,
Mm.
that sounds really good.
Yes. Yes. Thanks. Okay.
No, Richard, what?
Altcoin.
Hey, it's a problem. I
Yes.
lost $30 on altcoin.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
No.
no, nobody must go through that. Yeah.
No. I've had other people who've experienced problems last week with altcoin as well. So yeah, we just told them, please don't use that. Just go to Valor. That's definitely the choice there.
Okay, that's nice to know that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Pleasure,
Okay.
Annika. Well, I mean, there's I think if you do need any help, just reach out on the group, and I'm sure that someone can help you. And and Peter's daughter seems to really know what's going on. So perhaps you should.
I will remember that.
Yeah,
Nice to
yeah,
meet the young ones.
that's
They're
right.
born with this technology.
They
You
are.
know.
They are indeed. Yes. Fantastic. Are there any other questions that anyone would like to ask? I've got some slides prepared, but please let's ask our questions and then we can just look at the slides just now.
I'm done. Thank you. Rich.
Okay. Thanks, Annika. All right.
Yes, good evening. Good evening, everyone.
Hi,
Hi, Rich.
Dintley. How are you doing?
Fine, thank you. I just wanted to check with you if there is still gonna be another session for the back office, with including new people so they can see how the system works.
Yes, I think let's do a back office session next week, Wednesday. Let's do that.
Okay,
Then
thank you.
then we
Thank you
can
very
just
much.
tell people, and then they can, we can advertise it on the groups and that sort of thing as well. So we do a full back office session next week, Wednesday. Then that'll be great.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, so it gives you some time to think about questions that you would like us to include in that training as well, because often we overlook some of the basics, and so it's always good to even if you think your question is very simple, rather ask it on a meeting like that or beforehand, just so that we can make sure we've got the right material available for that meeting. So thanks for that. Let me share my screen for tonight. And I'm just going to go back there. Okay, so it's all about questions and answered. I have prepared that PDF and I'll share that on the group after this as well, just so that you've got the questions, but I've looked at other questions as well this evening. And the one thing people often wonder, but they don't always ask, is how is the BV calculated? Because obviously the BV is going to determine your bonuses and those sort of things. So here I've given a few examples, because remember that your BV is different so you might see a deposit, but the BV is affected by the different portfolios that make up your deposits in your left and right legs. So there's the boosters, and that will obviously, the BV is determined by the profits for the week. So let's say, for instance, in this example, there's 4,540. The result last week was 1.08%. Therefore, the BV that was generated from this type of deposit was 49. And then your foundation, obviously, because that's a different profit, then that determines the business volume, and so on and so on. Does everyone understand that the BV comes and it's from the actual deposits made and the profits? Is there any questions or clarity that's needed around this? So is that all clear to everyone? That's how your business volume gets calculated on a weekly basis. It's from those actual profits.
Rich, what is BV, by the way?
Business volume. That's what BV stands for. Business volume.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's that I've put here in this column here. That's business volume. Right. So, and what is the BV you see in your back office? Because it's every week, it doesn't show you the BV. If you want to see what your actual BV is for the week, you see it in your binary, but you don't see it in your back office. What you see in your back office is the total deposits left and right. And then this volume here that you see is not the weekly one. This is the total from the start. So when you started, your BV was calculated, and this basically determines your reward status. So this is the volume that you see in your back office. That's the total since you started. Okay. And this will increase on a weekly basis. And the only way to see what your actual BV was for the week is to go and look in your binary statements. If you obviously are not earning the binary, well, then the BV will be applicable, and you would then look at you wouldn't see, if you didn't have a binary, you wouldn't see your BV for the week, but you could basically look at, well, there wouldn't be a way to see your business volume for the week if you didn't have a binary. But most people who are interested in it would probably have a binary.
Hi, Rich.
Hi, Peter. Yes.
That information, yeah, this one you just shown here. How do you make use of it to determine where you put your maybe prospect, if I may put it like that, or a new person, either right or left? How does it help you, this information? I think this is where you need to look to decide whether the person comes to the right or to the left. How do you do that?
Yeah. So this is really the only place you would look to determine whether you have to put people in your right or your left. Because if you look at your number, okay, and often people look at the number of people they got, but the number of people doesn't tell you whether that person's made a deposit or not. So you have to look here at the total deposit. So in this case, if this was your business, you would focus on putting people in on your right-hand side, because the right-hand side is the weaker leg. And you want to build up that weaker leg, because it's the weaker leg that's going to give you your binary bonuses. So you always look at your deposits. Never look at the people, because people, you could have, in this business, you could have two people in the left leg that make up the 9,000, and you could have two people in the right leg that make up the $80. So because in this case, the 80 is probably two crocodiles. But like I say, then you're going to think, okay, well, I've got two people on my left, two people on my right, but that's not going to help you, because you need to look at the deposit. And it doesn't matter if you've got 100 people on the right. You could have 100 people on the right with a crocodile. That's still only going to give you about what's that, 4,000, okay? But your two people on the left, if those two people on the left were 9,093, you would still need more people. So you might think, wow, I've got a lot of people on my right. I haven't got many people on my left. But it's not about the number of people. It's always about the deposit. So you always look at the deposit, and that's where you decide where you need to put the people.
Okay, no, thanks very much for that explanation, which is quite understandable.
Yeah, and I think it's a good question, because a lot of people get confused when we say balance, because often I use that term, balance your legs, and then they think, well, if I've got 8 people on my left and 8 people on my right, then my team is balanced. But it's not the case. You're always looking at balancing your deposits as far as possible. So, you build the leg that's the weaker leg with the deposits, and that's how you make sure that you can get the maximum benefit from the binary. It's because they're paying you on the weaker leg, and you always build the weaker leg. So if we look at the next question, which moves a little bit away from where we were now, but this is the question about what happens if there's a bad trading week. Now, we don't really see the bad trading week, but to understand what would need to happen if there was a bad trading week, we need to look at what happens in a good week. Okay, so in a good week, you basically find that the trading target for a good week is between 1.25 and 2.5%. If they made, and then we're looking at your personal thing, because where we get the 1.25 is that it's 5, the normal monthly target for a foundation portfolio is between 5 to 10%. Therefore, a quarter of that, or 1 week, would be 1.25, and a quarter of 10 is 2.5. So that's the range that the traders look in. They then decide what is going to happen with that profit for the week. If they give you all the profit, well, then they haven't made any provision for a bad trading week. So they would then decide what is the result for the week, and that is how they make sure that if there is a bad week, they've kept some profits back. And because they've kept some profits back, that covers the bad trading weeks. So in this example here, let's say, for instance, the target that they're looking for, the minimum target, is 1.25, but if they achieve 1.298, for instance, they keep in a reserve, or they would then negotiate, and this is where the management of the assets come in. 0.73 would be what they discuss, and how much of that they keep and how much they give to you. So this is how it's managed on a weekly basis to make sure that bad weeks won't happen. Because the problem is, if you did have a bad week, then it would cause a problem, because what would happen to your capital? So you can't take people's capital back. So instead of giving you all the profits, they keep some of the profits back to cover bad trading weeks. Does that make sense? Have I explained that properly?
Sorry, Rich, can you repeat the percentages again? If it is a good trading week, what percentage?
Okay, so this one, where we look at what is the traders look for a profit between 5 to 10% for you on a monthly basis. So 1 week, a low for the week is 1.25. Okay, sometimes you'll get less than that, and then they'll make it up in better weeks. Or 2.5 would be the highest that you could possibly get in a week. Okay, or 10% is the maximum you could get from a foundation portfolio. When I say it's the maximum average. It is still possible that you could get more than 10% in a month. In the very early days of trading, I think it was in November 2024, we actually did get a better than 10% month. But just looking at the average and how things average out to make sure that you don't get a bad week, and by a bad week, we mean a negative week. So this is kind of like how it would be worked out, where they look at the profit that was achieved for the week and then look at how much needs to go into reserve. And this obviously differs from week to week. So this is just an example that I'm giving you here. But this is the way they manage to make sure that things are consistent and that you don't experience bad or zero trading weeks. Does that make sense, Sela?
Okay. Yes, thanks. And then when it's a negative, like you mentioned, does it mean then you have lost?
Well,
In other words,
they don't trade with negatives. So they rather, instead of giving you all the profit for the week, they keep profit back so that if there is a negative week, they can use that reserve that they've got to give you a profit for that week. So they're always keeping a reserve to make sure that if something goes wrong, they can still give you a profit.
Okay, thank you.
Cecil, am I explaining that properly? I know you've got better knowledge of this than I, or more experience than I have in this regard.
No, you've explained it very well. Thanks, Rich.
Okay, all right. Thanks, Cecil. It's good to know. Right, so then let's look at the consistency that we've experienced so far and what the actual results have been. So if we look at this current month, okay, we're sitting on an average of 4.93%. So this is the current last 4 weeks. So we haven't achieved the 5% in the month of February, but we've still got this weekend coming to see what happens. So potentially, this is where they would look at it and say, if there is enough extra in the pot, you will achieve your 5% for the month. If we're running a little bit down, well, then we're only a short mark off the 5%. But if you look at what we achieved in January, that was just over 5%. In December, it was 5.77. November, 5.19. And then October and September, we both, in those months, achieved over 6%. So that just gives you the results of what's happened and what the actual results have been for the last time. And we know also that, the trading world is quite difficult at the moment. So with the prices of Bitcoin and those sort of things moving up and down, it's not that they trade in Bitcoin, but it's always an indication of how the markets are performing. If the Bitcoin price is very up and down like it is at the moment, that's always a very clear indicator of the market being very volatile at the moment. So, and the profits that they obviously work on a very low risk. So they're not going to take excess risks just to try and get some more profit. Whereas you probably found that in September and October, there was a little bit better chance of making or taking a few more risks to make a little bit more money. So the most important thing is to keep your capital safe and to give you a profit, and they'll try their best to get between 5% or more. But if it's not possible, they get you as close there as possible. That's really what's happening. So, yeah, just to give you a bit of a background into the trading, and so here you will see the result, and this is obviously January, so 5%, 5.05% was achieved for the member, and the total month, that's the members side, 5.05%, and the business volume 5.05, bringing the total for the foundation for the month to 10.10. So, that just gives you an idea of what's happening and how they manage things. Any questions about this one?
Yeah, Rich, with trading, you, just to put it literally, you either win or lose, depending.
That's right. Yes.
Now, if say we have a bad trading week or month and we lose, is that going to affect your capital? In other ways, will be that will eat on your capital if God forbids that we lose.
Well, the arrangement that NWP has with their traders is that there are no losses. They have to manage it to the point that they make sure that you are not going to get a loss. Okay, you might get a 0 week, but you won't get a loss. Okay, that's the one thing. So you're never going to lose your capital. That's the arrangement that NWP has with their traders. You can't lose your capital. So you might experience a 0 week, but you won't experience a negative week, because they have to manage it in that way to make sure that there's either a 0 week or there's profit, but there will never be a negative week. That they just don't work like that. So the brokers and the traders have to keep reserves to make sure that there is no negative week. And they, as time goes by, they build up the reserve more and more. So, and then they'll use that to smooth out things. But they're not trading from, when it comes to the management side of things, they're managing month to month, and they decide on a month-to-month basis what the reserve needs to be. They're not deciding on a day-to-day or a week-to-week basis. It's a longer-term plan for the management of the assets. So to make sure that it's consistent, and at the same time that you don't have a negative week.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, good. But thanks for that. It's a very important question, because if they were giving you all your profits, well, then the problem is when you make a loss, then they need to take back profits and they need to take back things, and that it can't happen. So they have to manage that to make sure that you get a profit, or you don't get a profit, but you never lose what you've already got. That's the most important thing. Right, so just looking back at this old question for some of the people that might not have been here in previous meetings, when people talk about network marketing, they'll often talk about what is the product or what is the service. So if we haven't got a physical product like a face cream or a dishwash or something like that, but we have got a product in the way of a service that's from NWP. And it's an asset management company, and when a deposit is made, so in other words, someone puts in the money, that is not the product. And often in companies like asset or investment type companies, when you put in your deposit, someone makes a referral bonus. Now that's often a problem, because you cannot be paid on someone else's deposit. Because that is not the product. So you have to be paid on the product or the service. So therefore, the actual product is the profit that's made on a weekly basis and not the person's deposit. So it also happens that you will only get paid if there's a profit, which means that if we looked at the previous examples there, if there's a profit for your partner, for your person that's put the money in, there'll be a profit or for the business volume, which means you can get a bonus. And that's makes this thing completely different and completely sustainable, because the product is the profit that's made on a weekly basis and not the person's deposit. Because people can take out their deposits, and then what happens if you've paid out people from those deposits? It doesn't happen. It can't happen, and it doesn't happen in NWP. The only time that anyone gets paid is when there's a weekly profit. So I hope that it just clears up that question, because people will often ask you, but how can this be a company? What is the product? Well, the product or the service offered by NWP is that you will make a profit. And if you make a profit, that's where the benefit comes. So the benefit is what we look at. And why would you join the company? Because you're getting the benefit. And that also answers that question. What if we stop recruiting? Would the company still make money? Yes, it does, because the money we don't need new deposits to make profits on a weekly basis. You make profits on what is already deposited, not new deposits that are made. Do you understand the difference here, and why NWP is a sustainable company and not some scam company like that's paying from profits, or paying from deposits, not profits? We're getting paid from the profits, but we're definitely not getting paid from people's deposits. Therefore, it's sustainable and it can carry on. Even if no one ever puts any more money in, whatever you're earning on a weekly basis, you will carry on earning that because there's profits on a weekly basis. That's how the system works. And as I've always said, we can be sure of that because all bonuses are coming, everyone's making their withdrawals, and people are getting paid from those weekly profits and not from anyone's deposit. Right, just to mention, we are in phase 2 of the crocodile now. That is the $12 where the company adds $18, so you're on the $30 base as opposed to last week's $40 base, and that will happen until the 15th of March, and then from the 16th of March to the 5th of April, that's where the $12 gets $8 worth it, and you get $20. So there's still a benefit, and there's still time for you to earn the tablet, because the tablet you would need 80 crocodiles on your left and 80 crocodiles on your right. This goes across all the crocodiles, so you've still got time to get your 80 if you want to get yourself a tablet. Okay. And that is my few slides for the evening. Are there any other questions, anything you'd like to know? As Dintley mentioned, we will do back office training next week, Wednesday. But if you've got any ideas or questions that you'd like us to include in that back office training, please do ask beforehand, and we can get that ready. And if you can ask questions during the meeting next week, Wednesday, as well, it will also help for clarity. Just in terms of the, I know we had that training 2 weeks ago on the SafePal and the Polygon and the BEP20. It's still the easiest way is to use the Polygon system. And why I say that is because just by having your gas separate, you always know how much money you're going to put in. So let me share a whiteboard here. And I just want to use an example of how you would manage your Polygon account, and why it's easier to manage a Polygon, besides the fact that you can draw $5 from your Polygon and only $10 from BEP20. but there's reasons for your BEP20. So, that's when your account grows a bit or you wanting to take your money out, then you would use your BEP20 and you don't have to change anything because BEP20 and your Polygon address in your wallets is always the same. But obviously at an exchange, it can be different, but in your SafePal or your Trust or Exodus or whatever wallet you're using, those are all the same. So let's say, for instance, you're looking at your account, and we'll do this next week as well in the training. So you look at your account, and in your check-in wallet, you have 83 cents. Okay, that's in your check-in. Okay, so this is your check-in wallet. And you then, for the week, let's say, for instance, you have withdrawn $14 and let's say 92 cents. Okay, this is your withdrawal. Now, when you get your $14.92 into your account, it's going to be minus the 5%. So we take the 5% off, and you're going to receive $14.17. That's what's going to arrive in your wallet. Okay. Now, it so happens that this works out very nicely because if you're putting in this money to that, you're going to be able to get yourself $15 in a new portfolio. Okay. But let's hope that you've got some gas. So you've got Pole for gas. If you haven't got Pole for gas, then you phone a friend and you ask them to help you with Pole, because you need 1 cent. Okay, your friend's probably going to need to send you about 20 cents, but you can send them the difference back. Okay, you can. The one thing about Pole is you can send the max. So if you were sending and you only had a little bit, you could send the max. If you're sending a small amount, you probably spend most of it in gas, but it doesn't matter. It's small amounts and you can send it. Okay, so as long as you've got Pole, you can complete this operation. Now, let's say, for instance, you had $15.42 that you've got to withdraw. And remember, you've got 83 cents in your check-in wallet. So now what you're going to do is 1542 you're going to be receiving 1465. Okay. Now, remember, you only have to send 14 and 17 to make up that 15. Do you all follow me where I'm at the moment? So in other words, 1417 is what you're spending, and you're going to have 48 cents left. Now, if you look at this 83 cents that you originally put there was because you probably sent the max last time. Now, if you've got a lot of Polygon, you can send the max still. But if you're running short of gas, that's when you're going to use this 48 cents and you're going to swap that. You're going to do a swap here and you're going to get yourself some gas. Now, 48 cents of gas is going to give you enough for you in the next 2 or 3 months, and you even be able to help your friends with that. Okay, so you see the picture. This is how you need to think and manage your withdrawals on a weekly basis. You couldn't have done anything with this extra 48 cents if you sent it here. It would just laid in your check-in wallet for however long. So rather put it into gas. So next time Because if you look at this first scenario, here you just had enough to make up the 15, but you needed pole. So if you didn't make this provision, when you arrive at a scenario like this in future, then you're going to have a problem. And then hopefully you've got friends who can send you pole. But if you haven't got friends who can send you pole, then you're going to be making a $14 portfolio as opposed to a $15 portfolio. So that's just something to keep in mind. Just use this extra to, help yourself and keep a balance of pole. And then you can help other people as well if they need it, because they often get stuck. And then I know you can use your USDT as fees, but try avoid that, because it actually works out a little bit more expensive when you're using your USDT as your fee as opposed to using pole gas. And it's, I think, I haven't actually looked at the figures, but when I've tried things, it looks like it's a lot more expensive than using pole gas if you're using the USDT option. If you're going to, instead of having pole in your account, you're just going to say, well, take from my USDT. But then you're normally finding that you need to leave about 20 cents USDT behind, as opposed to having a few cents of pole. And although they might not take all that USDT, you wouldn't be able to send all that USDT. So it's much more efficient to make sure that you've got pole and be able to send whatever you have withdrawn, or make the correct sum to be able to send. I hope that helps. It's just a little bit more efficient way of trying to manage your withdrawals and reinvestments. Any questions about this? Okay. Right. Good. Well, I hope everyone understood that. It will be in the recording. But yeah, it's just to think about how you're going to manage your account and use the gas rather than using the USDT as your fee.
Hi, Rich. It's me again.
Instantly.
Yes, on that question of the gas fees, I'm still a little bit confused how it works.
Okay.
I understand for USDT poly, you need to have poly for gas fee.
Yes.
That's correct. And then for BEP20, do I still need to have some gas fee in a form of poly or in a form of BNB BEP20?
Well, yeah. So, yeah, I thought about that, and I thought, well, yes, if you're going to be on a regular basis, okay, and I mean every week. So you had, you were earning, and you had a nice big portfolio, or you were earning lots, and you wanted to take that out to your bank or to your credit card on a weekly basis, then I would say yes. Have BNB, because again, it's going to work out a little bit cheaper than using the USDT. But the problem is always initially getting that BNB, or so if you were only going to do a sort of once a month or once every 2 months, you're going to send some money to your bank, well, then it's probably just easier to use the USDT portion of for the gas. But if you were doing it regularly with BNB, then I would say yes, probably look into getting BNB at that stage. But for the normal things, to have BNB as well as Polygon for gas, it just gets a little bit confusing. So most of the time, the people will use the Polygon for, and then because they're making the withdrawal in and out of the system, use Polygon, the gas. And if they were regularly doing the USDT BEP20 withdrawals, then they could have a look at that. If the BNB is needed, but also looking at the sort of use of that, the person's withdrawing to his exchange. So you're only going to save a few cents. So you're probably just going to say, well, it's just easier if I send that money to my exchange. And the exchange is going to take fees. I'm going to spend some fees sending it there. I don't know if having BNB is going to be that much more efficient, unless you had to do a swap every week. Then you'd probably need BNB. But to keep it simple, I would say use Polygon and Polygon, the gas, when you're doing your normal things. And if you were sending regularly, then look at BNB. Otherwise, if it's an irregular thing, just use the USDT as the fee.
Okay, thank
That
you.
would be I try to keep things as simple as possible. So that would be my approach. Maybe it's not everyone's approach, but that would be my approach on that one. Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Bruce.
Okay, pleasure. It's very sort of subjective, and I just think having all these little fees, it's a bit of more of an irritation than anything. So I know I'm going to use Polygon on a weekly basis, so I keep Polygon. I did try do the BNB thing, and then I got a bit frustrated because now it's just lying there doing nothing. And I always think, it could be doing something somewhere. So let me, not do that. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions? Anything you would like to know about? Ask, please do ask.
Yes,
Thank
Rich.
you. Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure. All right. Well, do you have a good evening further? I'll make this recording available as soon as I can. And yes, we'll see you on the call tomorrow evening. Otherwise, if we don't see you there, have a good week and look forward to Saturday. So when we get our profits, it's always good.